Hi everyone, it's Jerry. This is another group of 5 endgame puzzles. All of them are white to play, and it's up to you to determine the best continuation in each case. Of the puzzles that I've posted to YouTube thus far, this group of 5 as a whole gets my vote for being the most difficult. And so give each one some time to figure out, see how you can do with these, and I believe many of them you may find quite appealing. So much so that you may in turn be wanting to share it with a friend or a chess club member, etc., to see if you can in turn stump them. But certainly it's going to be a little bit better if you could be able to say that you were able to get these when you first encountered them. And so with this, again, first puzzle of 5 with white to play, go ahead, pause the video, see if you can find the best continuation for white. Okay, the solution to this first puzzle is bishop to f6, of course trying to prevent this pawn from queening successfully, I should say. And note that just queening right away, black would queen with check, and after king takes knight we have a situation where just having the queen and bishop is not going to be enough. And so first throwing this bishop to f6, pawn takes bishop, only now knight to d4. If the pawn promotes, then we're going to have a classic fork going on, the queen is picked off, and then white wins. And so the only way to stop this, king takes knight, now we queen, and after black queens we have a position very reminiscent to that final scene in Searching for Bobby Fischer. Little skewer going on here. As soon as the king moves, the queen is picked off. So a nice little setup right here. The move order is very important. Again, take note that this pawn will be queening with check. If the knight tries to go here, landing a fork, again this move comes with check, and similarly if the knight goes here, we just take the knight. In fact, you could take the knight or even queen in that particular position, because taking the knight and then playing the bishop here, well, you note that this pawn does not have to capture the bishop in this case. Could actually play to e5, and then we just have this situation going on where it's going to turn out to be a draw pretty much. Or if let's say bishop takes pawn, we could have not pawn takes because white would queen with check, but rather just king takes bishop, and then we have this situation going on. The queen cannot make use of this f6 square successfully. So the solution, once again, bishop f6, pawn takes, knight d4, king takes knight, promote to a queen, and then follow up with this skewer. Okay, that's the solution to puzzle 1. Moving on to the second one. Once again, white to play. Pause the video, see if you can find the best continuation for white. Okay, the solution to this one is first playing knight to c7. In fact, backing up, I phrase these puzzles as find the best continuation because I don't want to give away who's the better side. And so I think it's a bit more practical. You know, when you're playing your own game, you're not always able to, of course, see a computer evaluation or know if you're the better side or not. Well, in this case, the first thing to recognize is that white is no better. In fact, white is having to come up with some creative stuff in this position. And it starts out with first knight to c7, giving check, bishop takes knight, and now queen to a6, giving check. After bishop takes queen, we have a case of stalemate. This is the best that white can do. And it's a very difficult one, I believe, to see, because in this starting position we have 3 pieces that could be moving. But just after a couple moves, none of them can move. A couple of them are just captured, and this pawn simply cannot move because the bishop is blocking it. So knight c7, bishop takes knight, queen to a6, and if the king goes here, we would just have a case where the queen just keeps going back and forth. If we had king a7, this too would be another case of stalemate. And so these right here being the key moves, knight c7, bishop takes knight, and now queen to a6, bishop takes queen, and we have again a case of stalemate. This is the best that white can do. So that's the solution to puzzle 2. Moving on to the third one. Once again, white to play. Pause the video, see if you can find the best continuation for white. Okay, the solution to this one is to start out with c6, and if black does not capture this pawn, we're just going to have c7 and then c8 right away. Actually, another thing to point out is if bishop to e6 check, we just have the king moving, and this pawn can't capture now because of just king takes bishop. And so really the best that maybe black could be doing here is that after c6, pawn takes, and now the next key move is pawn to d7, which is threatening just bishop takes pawn with check, and then the promotion to a queen. So bishop takes pawn is forced, and now another key move, h4. The idea behind this is to not allow this h5 pawn to advance forward. Allowing this pawn to advance would mean that this king will be able to make use of the h5 square. So h4 puts a stop to that, and in fact threatens a mate in 1 with either pawn takes pawn or bishop takes pawn. So g takes h is forced, and now we have a case of a mate in 3, and there's nothing that black can do to stop it. Bishop takes pawn. This king right here is simply stuck, and white needs only to play their king to f6 and then bishop to g5 and its mate. Nothing can be done to prevent it. Doesn't matter what black does here. Let's say c5, king f6, c4, bishop g5, and that's mate. So that's the solution to puzzle 3. Moving on to the 4th. Once again, white to play. Pause the video, see if you can find the best continuation for white. Okay, the solution to this one is to first start out with just h6, forcing this knight away to, let's say, that e6 square. After king c4, taking away some squares from this king, we have now the knight needing to go to that f8 square, otherwise that pawn is going to be promoting in a couple moves. So knight to f8 prevents this pawn's advance. And now e5, a very key move, threatening to just eventually chase this knight away. If this pawn is allowed to become passed, this knight is not going to be able to prevent a passed e and h pawn. It's not good enough to do both tasks. And so after this e5 move, black captures, and now we have knight c5 forcing king to a5, b4 check forcing king to b6, and now one of those deflection moves, knight to d7. The king is in a position, well, the king and knight are in a position where the knight could land a check on that d7 square, deflecting the knight away. And after h7, this pawn is going to essentially turn into Pac-Man, really, because these guys are just going to fall very quickly. In this type of an endgame, the knight is no match for a queen, and these pawns are certainly not going to be far enough advanced to pose any threat to white. White is going to be winning this position. So a very lengthy variation right there to see. But again, that is the solution. Moving on to the last one, puzzle 5. Once again, white to play. Pause the video, see if you can find the best continuation for white. Okay, the solution to this one is knight to d4, which is threatening just knight to c6, which is checkmate. These guys are just simply out of moves. There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces that can't move. This is the only piece that could move, and it needs to go to d2. So in order to just prolong the position, it has to land a check, in other words. The key move at this point is to play king to a1, and we do this for tempo reasons. And that's often the case when it comes to king, knight, and pawn endgames. You do have to be very cautious of the position of your king. If you go to a2, we have a case now where the knight could take the pawn. After knight takes knight, king to a4, and it's not so clear how black makes progress. If the king moves, then we just have king takes knight, and if the knight moves, well, we could always just have something like b3, and then the king could just kind of weasel out of that little box that they were in on the a file. However, at this point right here, again, from this initial position, knight d4, after this knight gives check, we don't go to a2, but rather king to a1. And so the only way to once again prolong this this position right here, in order to stop checkmate, you have to just go ahead and give check. After knight takes pawn, knight takes knight, king to a4. This is all forced. In fact, this initial position is a checkmate in 5. After this king to a4 move, king a2, there is once again only one move. These are all forced moves. Rook to a5, and now knight to c5, landing a check. Pawn takes knight is the only move, and then what a finish. b3, mating with a pawn. Once again, just a quick recap, all of these are forced moves. Knight d4, knight d2, king a1, knight takes b, knight takes knight, king a4, king a2, rook a5, knight c5 check, and then b3 mate. So that's all for this video. As always, I hope you got something out of it, and be sure to let me know which one of these was your favorite. Take care. Bye.